On the last episode of Eat, Sleep, Drive, we featured the Tesla Model 3, and it blew me away with its innovation and just overall new approach to cars. But it did leave a little bit to be desired in the dynamics department. But today we have the Tesla Model 3 performance version. Can it satisfy the need of enthusiasts? Today we're going to find out.
Are you guys holding on to your dips? Like, hold on to the side.
Oh God.
Because I would hold on if I were you guys. Ready?
Hold on to your dip.
Welcome everyone to another episode of Eat, Sleep, Drive, and this is going to be a very, very good one indeed. Today we have the Tesla Model 3 Performance. Now last week I covered the regular Tesla with the rear-wheel drive and extended range, and it was amazing. It absolutely blew me away in its futuristic ability and just overall changing really how the car is going to be in the future. Like, no doubt Tesla, or at least electric cars, are the future. Now, what I didn't talk about much last week was the dynamics of the vehicle, because I really wanted to wait until I had the performance model to talk about that. I talked a lot about the technology, I talked about just some kind of quirks to it, and just kind of the overall driving, but I didn't talk about dynamics much, and that's what we're going to talk about today, because we have the most dynamic one, the performance model. This is a dual motor performance model, so that means it's all-wheel drive and stupid fast, as you're about to see. Now, huge thanks to Aaron for letting me borrow this car. Aaron rents his car on Turo, so I'll put a link below. If you're in the Cincinnati area and you want to experience one of these cars for yourself, which you should, I would definitely hit him up. So we're going to put this thing in drive and go for a quick spin here. I don't have a ton of time with the car, so we're going to do this in one take, a la Matt Farah and the Smoking Tire, and we are off. How can you talk about the Model 3 Performance without talking about the acceleration? It is 100% a spaceship. This thing defies really everything. God, like, it defies everything that you know about cars. And what is crazy to me is that the internal combustion engine and the car in general hasn't changed a whole ton since its inception. I mean, it has and it hasn't. It's still fundamentally the same thing. And through, 100 years of technology with the gas engine, we're at a point of being, modern day fast. And then Tesla goes and makes like their first car, and it's like as fast as the fastest supercars, more or less, give or take a little bit. Now this one's like sub 3.5 seconds to 60. I believe it all day. Haven't timed it myself, obviously, but it is stupid fast, especially on the low end. Once again, that 0 to 60 in this car is just bonkers. And it's nothing you guys didn't already know, of course. Now, it does taper off. So, being that it's, electric motor and it's electric car, it gives you all that torque up front. So, it feels super, super fast off the line. And it is super, super fast off the line. But really, once you get going, it does sort of taper, and we've always seen that kind of with, you've seen races with, the P100D or whatever the hell it's called, the Model S that just kills Ferraris and stuff. But once that race really gets going and they get higher in speed, the Ferraris really reel them in. You do get that in this car, but it's still fast at any speed. And all right, so I'm going 55 right now. Put your foot down and there's still a huge shove. So the straight line performance is really, everything I expected and more. The immediacy is just, it's second to none of an electric car. It's pretty wild. So now we're gonna go little twisty roads, and forgive me, this road right here is really bad. Just for a minute. Oh boy. Bucking all over the place. That gives me a chance to talk about the suspension. Now, I liked the suspension in the standard model, although it did feel a little bit crashy to me at times. So it wasn't my favorite, but I will say that this suspension in the Performance is not wildly different. It does feel a little more hunkered down, and I do get less crashiness. Now, is that because this car has less miles? That other car had 27,000 miles, and this has less than 10. Is it because it has less miles? Is it because it's a later build date? You know, we all know that these kind of had some build quality issues when they first came out. I'm not quite sure. Or is it just like the improvements that they gave to the suspension? It does feel like it corners a little bit flatter. So I wonder if they have maybe some stiffer sway bars or something like that. The car is lower. I think it's about 10 millimeters lower than the standard model. So there is some difference in the springs for sure. The damping feels pretty similar though. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. This car, especially with the all-wheel drive, handles pretty remarkably. There's grip everywhere. And what I will say is that you can tell that there's a lot of computer wizardry going on. And furthermore, I'm not in track mode. There's a track mode, which I will put it in sort of on the way back, but I wanted to kind of first do a review of everything in the regular mode, and then we'll stick it in track mode and see how different that is. So as we go around here in these twisties, the steering is super accurate. I love the turns in very quickly, but it is, as you would expect, relatively numb. I don't know a ton about what the front tires are doing, but it is super quick to react. And like I said, the turn-in is unbelievable. There are a couple different settings on this car as far as steering settings. You can put it in comfort mode. You can put it in, I forget what, there's two more. But basically, I've put it in every one of those modes, and the only thing it does, in my opinion, is make the steering heavier. So I have it in comfort, and I prefer to drive in comfort and spirited driving. I prefer driving in comfort all the time because there's no reason for it to just be arbitrarily heavier. It doesn't give you any more feel than it otherwise would. So, I mean, this is one of those cars, and this is one of those roads that you probably couldn't go faster in many other cars. I mean, the immediacy of the power, the all-wheel drive grip, it is absolutely phenomenal. The question, and we'll talk about it a little more later, is would this replace a fun petrol-based car for someone? I'm not sure yet. Let's get to track mode first, and then we'll talk about that. But I've already kind of talked about, in the other review, all the really cool features that you get with a Tesla, and really just wanted to talk about dynamics with this one. So let's hit the brakes pretty hard here. Good stopping power. Now, part of that is because it has a pretty significant bit of regenerative braking. And what do I mean by regenerative braking? I mean, when I get off the throttle and I'm not even on the brake pedal, it will try and recuperate some of the energy lost from getting going by like slowing the car down with the motor. You get some electricity back with that. So that's pretty cool, and it helps with braking. So it's a really great little feature for a performance car to be able to recuperate some of that energy and also be a little easier on the brakes. Let's stop here for a second. I think I have to put it in park to go into track mode. Yep. Track mode is now enabled. I have to sign a waiver and sign my wife away. Of course I read that disclaimer there. Okay, and as I put it in track mode, I hear like some fans or something. And I know there is more cooling in track mode because, the battery is just charging faster and stuff. But actually, let's do a little launch here. There's an old lady at this house, but she'll never know I'm doing this because it's electric. Okay. Even, 2 corners in, track mode feels like it wants to rotate the car a little bit more, which I certainly like. It by no means was an understeery pig before, but track mode seems to definitely want to rotate the car more. This is a fun little road. I love this road. God, this is bonkers fast. So much grip, no drama. So easy to drive fast. So easy to drive fast that you catch up people really quickly. Now, what I can talk about for a second here is, okay, so what I've noticed so far in track mode is that, this person gonna pull over? Thank you very much, sir. He did not really have to do that. That was very kind of him. So what I've noticed so far with track mode is that the regenerative braking is even more. So I'm not even on the brakes. I'm just regenning by being off throttle, and it brakes really heavily. The brakes are good. They are sufficient, but there is not a lot of feel. Like, it is decent amount of feel, but I would say it's hard to modulate because it's you can tell it's artificial. Like in a regular car, you know for sure. Like, so an M3 or something, when you get on the brakes, you can kind of feel even like the little ABS kick in or something. You still kind of feel like what's going on with the car's hips. This car is masking a lot of that because, you know, there's a lot going on. I can't really say under the hood because it's not really under the hood, but under the covers. Yeah, man, this regenerative braking is aggressive. Like, we're coming to a complete stop here, and I am not on the brakes at all. It's kind of cool. Oh my God, it's a freaking spaceship. There's really not any torque steer to speak of. There is a little bit of torque steer, but not a whole ton. As much as like you would figure, given that this is just insane levels of torque. But you would be hard pressed to keep up with this car in any other car on this road. It's a good size too. It feels smaller than it probably is because the front overhang is really low. So you can't really even see the front bumper or anything like that. But it's a good size for this road, a little big, but it is a sedan and there's plenty of space in here. Of course, they have a lot of room to play with given, oh my God, it's addicting. They have a lot of room to play with given how much freedom they have not having a gas engine and all that stuff. I mean, this thing is incredible. But the big question to me is, would I ever replace, for example, I have a Mustang GT350, would I ever replace that car with something like this as a fun car? I'm gonna go with no. I gotta be honest with you guys. As fun as this is in a certain way, it is not the ultimate level of fun to me because there's a couple things going on. Number one, you have no sound. As you guys can probably tell in the video, other than a little wind noise because my GoPro's outside, there's normally no wind noise. Other than a little bit of that wind noise, there's no noise, so there's no, obviously, exhaust noise because it doesn't have an exhaust. You get just the tiniest little wee, like little spaceship noise, but that doesn't satisfy you. Like, I like cars that make fun noises that are loud, or just make unique noises, or just something. At least there's like, with a traditional car, you have a rev range. It goes from 2,000 RPM to 6, 7, 8,000 RPM, depending on your car. And there's certain theater to that. There's a certain start and end to it. There's no gears here. Even in an automatic car where it's doing all the shifting for you, you can put it in manual mode, like something like a PDK car. You can put it in manual mode and you can interact with it. You can go through the gears. Once again, bwomp, bwomp. Like there's, once again, a start and an end to it. Because that's life, man. There's a start and an end to life. This is like infinity. It just goes. You put your foot down, it goes. There's no gears. And yeah, you're off. the closest thing to teleporting that we've ever had so far. It's a very, very strange thing. So I think the lack of drama, at least from a fun aspect. Now, as a daily driver, this is phenomenal. You cannot beat this as a daily driver. So ideally, you have two cars. Like, I would love to have a Tesla to daily drive and then have a GT350 as sort of your fun, enjoyable car. That would be the best of both worlds. But this isn't replacing a fun car to me, like in the traditional sense of fun cars. This is just, it's fun in its own way, but I don't think it has the lasting qualities. I mean, think about when you go for a drive, what sensations are you getting? You're getting a sense of touch, in the sense of getting pushed back in your seat and the G-forces in a turn. And you're getting the audible sense of the engine moving up and down the rev range, getting the exhaust notes. So those are basically two things, right? Well, take away half of those. Take away all the hearing. That's what you're doing with an electric car. There's no theater to it. So that's kind of a big problem to me. It takes away a huge part of the experience. Once again, not saying this isn't an unbelievable car and it isn't the future, because it 100% is the future. If you want to go as fast as possible going forward, it's going to be in an electric car or some hybrid of. But for me, I like to burn dinosaur juice, and it just doesn't do it for me. Like, I don't think this is going to have much of a lasting quality to it. I think once you get used to the speed and it just sort of, I don't want to say drives itself, because you're driving it on these fun roads, but there's a lot of, it's kind of like a GTR. There's a lot of computers going on in the background that are making you get around the corner as quick as possible. Once again, if you want to go as quick as possible and you're being timed or something, sure. But if you're just trying to go out and have a fun, enjoyable drive where you're doing it and you're kind of like advancing your skills and you kind of get a sense of accomplishment for doing such things, it's going to have to be in an old school car, man. That's why I don't think the collectible cars now, like the iconic cars now, are really ever not going to be collectible in the future, because let's be honest, they're not going to make these kind of cars. They're not going to make those kind of cars anymore. They're going to make electric cars. And there's going to be a want and need for enthusiasts like us to want that visceral experience that is a gas engine. And that's really kind of like, that's what sums it up for me, is this car is phenomenal. 100% the future, but it's not replacing the modern day fun petrol car. Not yet, at least. I mean, I don't know what they would do that can replicate that experience other than doing it in a sort of artificial way, right? Sure, they could simulate gears or something like that, and they could pump artificial noise through, but no one wants the fake. No one wants the, your wife doesn't want the fake purse. She wants the real, I don't even know what, this is how bad I am with purses. I don't even know the famous purse. Was it Louis Vuitton or something like that? They want the real thing, and we want the real thing as enthusiasts. So this is an incredible car, incredible experience. Thank you so much to Aaron for letting me borrow this thing. I would, personally, if it was me, and I'm kind of going to look to see what these are like on the used market. I imagine they haven't depreciated at all. But if it's me, I'm going to buy probably the base rear-wheel drive one and drive it daily, and then have a fun weekend car, like a fun petrol car, because it's a money proposition. With the base one, you get all the technology and all the futuristicness and everything that makes it amazing. You don't get this, obviously, straight line acceleration, but I could honestly do without it in a daily driver. And to say that the standard one is slow is being silly, because that thing has a ton of torque as well, especially off the line, and never really makes you wanting like a ton more power. So to me, I would buy, I'd spend 39 grand on the base one, the base one with autopilot, because you want autopilot, and then spend the next 15, 20 grand, if we're saying this car is 60 grand and you have 60 grand to play with, buy the base one for 39, then spend the next 20 grand on a fun car like an S2000, something that is very iconic for the petrol engine. That to me is the better combo. I'd rather have both than one. Like, I'd rather have the base Tesla and an S2000 than just this car. Once again, this car is going to be faster than both of those in pretty much every category possible, but it doesn't evoke the emotion that standard fun petrol car does. So those are my thoughts, guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Am I a complete dinosaur? Am I just showing my age here, stating that I would rather have a slower car? Let me know in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Thank you so much to Aaron. Check out the link below if you want to rent this car and you're in the Cincinnati area, or if you're just going to travel to the Cincinnati area, rent it. You know, it's a blast. If you haven't experienced a Tesla, it's amazing, and you should do it because you feel like you're in a spaceship and you're in the future. So, thanks for watching as always, guys. I'll see you on the next episode. Whee! Hey guys, once again, $100 off to the first 10 people that rent a Tesla through Aaron. Check out the link below for details.